Hi guys, and welcome to a free-for-all battle, which is a very, very exciting game from what I have gathered, and it is going to be Noob for Life, who's very kind and sent in this replay in charge of the Lizardmen, up against Omega Drive, who's going to be in control of a very sneaky Skaven build. We also have over in the distance Park Map, who's also been on my channel a fair amount, leading the armies of the Wood Elves, and over in the distance here we have Cavendish leading the mighty Bretonnians, and you can see the armies look particularly awesome. So let's have a little run through first of Noob for Life's build. So I'm not going to spend too much time going through builds, as there is 4 armies to go through, but for the front line we have skink cohorts with javelins, very decent, cheap and cheerful troops, and then we have 1, 2, 3 units of the red crested skinks in reserve, just to add a little bit more punch. In deep reserve here we have the Amaxon Barbs, resident of a renowned raised on hunting packs, one of my favourite units in the game just for their pure look. Look how badass these guys look. Their colour scheme is very decent, and they're going to be a mobile artillery force just shooting in those poison darts. Now on the ground, he has 3 nice dinosaurs, 2 Basildons with solar engines to do some very nice long-range damage. We also have Krokgar up on top of Grimlock, the mightiest of all Carnosaurs, and he's of course going to be coming in with his buffs and hands of the gods. Up in the sky we do have a little bit of Air Force with the Pohawks Sentinels over here, regiment-renowned Terran Riders, and they're going to be assisting a Skink Chief in the air, another unit of basic Terran Riders, and a Skink Priest of Heavens, who looks like he's coming with Wind Blast and Harmonic Convergence. Now if we go over here and have a little look at Omega Drive's Skaven build, you can see it is a very, very cool Clan Eschen build. So up front we have a couple of units of Gutter Runners. If we carry on going through the forest in this rather shady ditch he's imagined to deploy his forces in, which is very Skaven-like. For his lord, of course, he's gone for Deathmaster Snikch with all his healthy buffs, and he's popped concealment bombs as well. As you can see, most of his army has in fact popped those, just to ensure that they are invisible and he can do some sneaky stabbings. We have an Eschen Sorcerer over here, so let's have a little quick look at him, as it is a new Law of Magic. So he has come with Concealment Bombs himself, Brittle Bones, one of my favourite spells from the new lore, minus 40 melee defense. You combine this with the negative speed and like some assassin bonuses, you can really snipe out lords very tastily. He also has the Black Whirlwind Vortex and some throwing stars. So for the most part of his army, he has a mixture of Death Runners mixed in with Eschen Triads, including the Regiment Renowned ones here who look incredibly gangster. So loads of Death Runners, including the Death Runners Regiment of Renowned, who look very cool. And mixed in with a ton of Gutter Runners and Eschen Triads. So a very cool sneaky build overall. Very, very thematic. Now if we swoop around to the other side of the battlefield and look at Park Map here, he's also gone for a very cool build in general. He has 2 units of Waywatchers. Up front, 3 units of Eternal Guard holding the main battle line, a couple of units of Dryads as backup, more heavy damage dealers. We have Orion, the Lord of the Forest himself, who has a very cool item which I absolutely adore, called Horn of the Wild Hunt, plus 54% charge bonus. If you time this correctly with Wild Riders, they become super deadly. With Hounds of Orion, Hawk's Talon, and all that good stuff, and of course Cloak of Isha, very, very powerful there. In the reserve, we have 2 units of Wild Riders, including the Regiment Renowned version, who are one of my favourite looking units. I feel like their colour scheme has changed. Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they have like a dark red shields before? That could just be my imagination, maybe they've had a colour change, I'm not sure. We also have a Spell Singer of Life with the basic healing spells of Regrowth and Earthblood. In fact, we have 3 units of Wild Riders in the back. So a bit more of a standard competitive pick here by Park Map. If we go over here and have a look at Cavendish, we do in fact have the Bretonnians with an almost complete Air Force. So we have Pegasus Knights mixed in with Royal Pegasus Knights. In the back there we have another unit of Royal Hippogriff Knights. We have more Royal Pegasus Knights and some Pegasus Knights on the side. And leading this heroic charge is going to be a Paladin on top of a Pegasus and big old King Leon Kerr, who is a very, very tasty combatant, causes terror, very good duelist as well overall. And the one ground force we have, which is going to need to stay alive at vital kind of objective here for Cavendish, otherwise his air forces will have to land. We do have a Damsel of Life over here with Earthblood and Regrowth, the standard pick. So to start with, we are going to mainly follow this battle right here as Noob for Life was the guy who sent in the video, so we're going to focus mainly on his battle, but we will occasionally dart across and have a look at the other battle. And it looks like the sneaky ambush has been revealed, so it looks like Noob for Life was starting to move his forces up here, and he's going to have to rearrange quite quickly as the Skaven do sneak out of their little gutter down here and start marching forwards. And they're getting some nice initial volleys off on top of the Pohawk Sentinels here, who don't have too many fantastic targets, to be honest. As you can see, all the concealment bombs still active, but all these units are starting to be found down. It looks like we could have a duel right off the bat. If Krokgar does find Deathmaster Snikch. Now, the Deathmaster may be a master assassin, but he is no beast hunter. He's going to have to get out of there very quickly. We have a massive vortex coming down, hitting an absolute ton of skinks. But as you can see, this new vortex, it doesn't do a ton of damage. It's more, I feel, for disruption. As you can see, it has a real big air effect, and these units are all getting trapped in that at the moment. But some decent damage across the board anyway. So we have the Bastildons taking the high ground here, and they're going to be shooting down into this gutter as the Skaven do flood out. I think that's going to be very effective. The Skink Chief taking a huge amount of work now, or starting to at least, from that constant pressure of all these gutter runners slingers. There's just so many of them. And as we can see, the front line has engaged Death Runners running into Skinks. That's going to be very nice for the Death Runners. But Eshin Triads are also moving up to try and deal with the Bastildons. Of course, these guys do have that armor piercing, anti-large, and weeping blades. They shouldn't do too terrible. And Maxon Barbs getting in there and doing some decent damage as well, firing across now. And the main battle has engaged. Red Crested Skinks desperately having to run forward to try and plug the gaps that the Skink cohorts are leaving. But as you can see, the Skaven are taking a bit of a battering on the way in as well, as those Basildon with solar engines are just pounding into this front line. You can see shots marking the floor wherever they go, and a big wind blast coming down these Eshin Triads. If it is slightly further back, it probably would have been a bit more effective, but being combined with the Pohawk's rock drops, these Eshin Triads are now terrified and running for the hills. Let's have a quick look over in the distance. We can see that these guys have wasted no time getting into engagements here. Praetonians immediately charging in, straight trying to get on top of these Way Watchers and tear them down. But in retaliation, Horn of the Wild Hunt was popped, and all of these Wild Riders are charging in, and they're doing pretty good against the Pegasus Knights. Both armies here taking a huge amount of damage, with Cavendish actually taking a nice early lead there. So let's go back to the main engagement. We still have the Amaxon Barbs pretty much unscathed here, but they don't have any kills yet, and a couple of retreating Skinks who need to come back to the fray. Now it looks like Deathmaster Snikch has managed to hop on top of Krokgar, which is fine. He can do a decent amount of damage to him, especially when Brittle Bones there, as you can see, is active, but in retaliation he does drop down his buff, increasing his resistance and all of that good stuff, and in return is beating the crap out of Deathmaster Snikch. Now this is a really important thing that I've learned from the new DLC. Yes, Master Assassins and Deathmaster Snikch can do a huge amount of burst damage, but they are still little rats. They do not want to be going up against someone like Krokgar, who will mulch them for breakfast quite comfortably. And as we can see, a lot of the Skaven forces are now starting to break off. So after a real aggressive, successful initial charge here, he's really starting to take some heavy damage. And these Bastildons up to 67 and 96 kills. Those big bursts coming in and just wrecking countless amounts of Skaven. And it looks like the Skaven army is really starting to crumble here. We do have the Eshin Sorcerer, who all day so far has been throwing those little ninja stars at Krokgar, the magic ones. Let's see what they are in fact called. The Warp Stars, which do an okay amount of damage, and it's a very, very cheap spell. Constantly gets you that passive debuff on your enemies from the poison. So, Skink cohorts are rallying, throwing in their little darts into Death Runners. Death Runners will cut them to absolute pieces, but every single one of these guys that goes down to those Javelins is going to make them weaker. As you can see, they're already up to 106 kills, doing very nice here. And we have the Vistrin Death Squad as well over here, 132 kills, eating Skinks for breakfast. So a very bloody affair right now. But Krokgar, he's just running around, mulching on everything he wants to. These Ishka's Triads, the Ishin Triads regiment around, are really trying their best to stay with him and pin him in, but he just doesn't care. Every time they get close, really good play here by Noob for Life. He's just moving them away. These guys are getting terrified off, then having to run back again, and he just wanders around where he wants to, doing his damage. A very scared Eshin Sorcerer looks like he is the current target, trying to flee as fast as possible. We do have some rallying troops over here by Gutter Runners, and also some Eshin Triads coming back in, and this is the perfect matchup for these Eshin Triads, hopping onto these Amaxon Barbs. And, I mean, no one really wants to fight, terrifying, scaly, spiky dinosaurs, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do it with some rat ninjas, and they will make short work of these guys. But it does look like some flying support is coming in. I could see the shadows there as the Terror Riders did swoop in. Krokgar really desperately doing a tail swipe there, trying to get rid of this Eshin Sorcerer, who is terrified. He's been a bit of a pain in this battle, and this power base of the Bastiladons doing so much work. But if we take an overarching look of the battlefield, looks like Deathmaster Snikch is still alive, up to 44 kills, chasing off some units over here. And there's a little bit of a rally going on from Skaven units left and right in little patches, but it looks like the Lizardmen are going to come out victorious in a very, very vicious and blood and thunder affair up here. But mainly, they only have their big dinosaurs left and a few little skinks. Let's have a little look and see how this other battle is going on. And it looks like the Wood Elves are very, very slowly clawing their way into a powerful position. Orion is getting those huge healing at the moment, which he desperately needs. He's very beaten up. But King Leonker is in a very healthy position himself, but the rest of his forces are incredibly beat up. These Pegasus Knights, Royal Pegasus Knights, are all not dead, but not in a good situation at all. They're pinned in at the moment by Wild Riders. There's Eternal Guard giving that constant anti-large threat as well. I think the Wood Elves in a fairly successful situation. We have a fleeing Paladin, some fleeing Wild Riders, and some rallying Waywatchers, up to only 5 kills, but again, they're targeting very expensive units. There is a very healthy unit of Royal Hippogriff Knights, so if maybe you can get some healing, could be in a good situation. Now, the big question is, where is that Mage of Life? Because if they're gone, these guys are constantly going to have to land, and that's not what they want to do. It looks like the Mage of Life has, in fact, the damsel, sorry, is going to combat, which is very risky. She is a vital part of this army. But anyway, let's go back to the main fight. So another successful Wind Blast coming down here. Once again, could have done a bit more damage if it was placed slightly further back, as it does kind of tear. But once again, it does its job. It terrifies those Eshin Triads, the Bastiladons, the Krotgar. They're just running around clearing up this Skaven quite successfully. And every time these Bastiladons shoot, they get so much value. Up to 128 and 127 kills. A pretty good competition going on between these two Bastiladon bros. Looks like we're aiming up for another shot, possibly. Come on, shoot into these guys right here. Do it. Do it. I want the cinematic. No, unfortunately, it looks like he's just chilling at the moment. But for the most part, Isko trying their best, but getting terrified once again. And something I learned as I'm recently doing, I don't really play Skaven too much, but I'm currently doing a Snikch campaign. Bringing troops back is so vital, and it looks like Omega Drive has been very good on that so far, always bringing his troops back, and you just need to do it as quick as possible, otherwise they're coming back to a losing situation. And that poor Eshin Sorcerer is just getting gooned out at the moment by a very angry Krotgar and the Skink Priest, and he really needs to chase that guy off, as if he comes back he can keep doing that constant damage, giving him those extra points. As we see, Park Map has switched this over. He was bottom earlier, is now top, and in the distance we can see a routing King Leon Kerr. So Park Map taking an early lead, but these top three really have a chance. I'm afraid I feel the sneaky Skaven may be out of this, but the build was fantastic. Very, very cool and always good to see. And all these units are now being chased off by some very diligent Pterodon Riders. Very good play there by Noob for Life, chasing those guys off. He needs to ensure he kills this Eshin Sorcerer. Now, where is the sneaky boy himself? They've scored up to 240 kills, crazy amounts of work. The sneaky boy himself is running away down into the hills, living to fight another day. And I mean, that's really good play. He might be able to pick off maybe a lone damsel, or Ryan if he gets a little isolated on his own. He could do some serious damage still. Damsel, unfortunately, is going to get dragged down. It looks like the Bretonnians are pretty much out of this, which they look like they were doing fairly good, but I think just good management here by Park Map, getting those Pegasus Knights and whatnot pinned down amongst Eternal Guard, and very good Wild Rider play. And it looks like King Leonker is coming over here, takes a blast to his face by the Bastiladon. Oh no, is he going in to try and assassinate Krotgar? Krotgar is down to 1,000 health. He drops the Sword of Crone and he is going in. So he's going in there, he's popped Stand Your Ground, popped all his buffs, Lion Shield and whatnot. The big burst shot coming in from the Bastiladons. 2 shots bring down the mighty king, and in fact save Krotgar. He might be able to deal with it himself. Harmonic Convergence popped down. They did some decent damage, and it looks like these very brave Skaven think that they might be able to finish him off. It is quite deceptive sometimes, health on these guys. Who was that? Eshin Sorcerer has rallied, trying to get revenge on Krotgar, dropping some of those more warp stars, doing some really decent damage, getting him down to 720 hit points. But oh no, it looks like he's been spotted by the Skink Priest, and that is bye-bye Mr. Eshin Sorcerer, I'm afraid. But he's done very good so far, up to 18 kills, but done a huge amount of damage. And now there's just a few gutter runners dancing around, getting some value where they can. But the real battle is now going to be between Park Map, who's taken a very small lead here, just a Pyrrhic victory at the moment against Noob for Life. But this is anyone's game. There's just so many huge dinosaurs, and these guys can get some really good value. They still have a decent amount of ammo left. 5 shots on this guy, 5 on this one. If they blast those into some Eternal Guard and whatnot, they can get some great value. And of course, over here, we still have the Deathmaster himself using his concealment bombs, being very, very sneaky, waiting for his opportunity to strike. And let's see, Pterodon Riders just chasing off units over here. Has he left the Eshin Sorcerer again? You need to finish him off, bro. He's going to rally, and he has in fact rallied, and he is coming back to the battle now. He's once again probably going to fire in just some of those Warp Stars and get some extra damage, which could be pretty pivotal into who wins this game. So if he manages to help finish off Krokgar, that's one big damage dealer gone, and a lot of leadership gone as well. Now, if I was Park Map, I'd use Orion's range stance and just finish off Krokgar whenever he gets in range. Looks like we do have some Wild Riders have rallied as well, and some nice Basilion shots coming in, trying to focus down the Spellslinger and Orion himself. And in comes Deathmaster Snikch in the back, being very, very stealthy. So Eternal Guard immediately running into the Basilion. Not a bad shout, but these guys are still big, massive dinosaurs, and Eternal Guard do not have the best armor piercing, so it will be a very slow grind. And the Basilion, as you can see, he's had enough of these pointy-eared elves. He's had enough of this battle. He wants to go home, and he's just flinging Eternal Guard left, right, and centre. So they're doing a decent job along the front line. Krokgar does in fact move up and try and engage, charges into some Wild Riders. The Wild Riders, though, very viciously fighting back, and it looks like, I don't know what happens here, he seems to swing in the air, Krokgar, and got flung off by some very brave Wild Riders who immediately turn around and go charging directly into this Basilion. These are some very brave, vicious Wood Elf Warriors here, and they in fact managed to break the Basilion. This could be game right here. With the leadership penalty, this Basilion will not last too long, but he gets a fantastic blast against the Spellslinger, and Deathmaster Snikch out of nowhere runs in and does some sneaky stabbings in the back, getting that one extra kill he's been looking for, and he charges headlong, victorious, pumped up from his kill. A whirling blades coming around as well, doing some great damage, but Ryan has had enough of this crap. Him and his Wild Rider bros do come in, and it looks like they're going to crush Snikch pretty bad. But what a play there by Mega Drive, keeping him alive, sneaking him round, and taking out that Spellslinger, which could be huge and really give Noob for Life a way back into the game, as if he still had healing here on those Wild Riders and so forth, it could be a much trickier fight. But unfortunately, one Basilion is running from the field, and the Eshin Sorcerer, unfortunately, is now completely shattered. Looks like he came in just to try and do a little bit more damage, but was finished off. So Pterodons, we could now try and rescue this Basilion. He really needs to chase away this Basilion, maybe get the Wild Riders over there if he can, but they'll probably be picked off by Pterodons, unfortunately. Some big blasts coming back in onto Orion, getting down to 845 health. So the Wood Elves unfortunately lost most of their mobile forces. They did try and bring the Wild Riders over, but they were in fact picked on by the Terran Riders. Losing their mobility, they haven't been able to capitalise on that big break in the Lizardman leadership. But the Lizardmen are starting to run out of ammo. One more shot coming in, getting Orion down to 400 health. He's very, very weak now. Maybe if they can snipe him out, they'll be able to break this army with all their terror-causing units. And it looks like we're getting ready for the final showdown. Is there anything left anywhere? Some Wild Riders, but they're not coming back. There's only 3 of them. And it looks like the battle is immediately getting underway. We have Way Watchers throwing themselves into combat. They're chucking everything they have into this engagement. Eternal Guard popping in, who should do some decent damage alongside those Dryas, trying to bring down that Basilion, but a Harmonic Convergence, very well played here, is dropped. Unfortunately, Wind Blast still doing some decent damage, but once again, could have come down this big nasty blob here and do some real good damage for Eternal Guard, but he's still got very good damage from those Wind Blasts across the battle. Looks like Orion is chucking spears and so forth, but he needs to get in there, start taking down these Basilions with his big armor piercings. They're causing all kinds of problems right now. And he does in fact charge in. And is he going to do a big old fight? Basilion down to 1,000 health. Pokes him once, down to 600 health from one big old poke to the snout there. And that Basilion is running for the hills. These Pterodon Riders are now going to fight for their life against the King of the Woods. But the other Basilion is still going strong. A cold-blooded pops on him, keeping him in this fight, which could be pivotal. And Parallax Sentinels, they do okay damage in combat. They don't really want to fight Eternal Guard for long, but if they can overwhelm Orion here, who's just down to 300 health, and break off these units of all the Terrans, they've got a really good shout, and it does look, in fact, the backbone of the Wood Elves has broken, and Orion goes down just to constant attacks here from these very, very brave Parallax Sentinels, which could get them an MVP award there, as it is, in fact, a Pyrrhic victory for the Lizardmen. I'm knackered just after commentating that. So much happened in that game. That was awesome. Let's go to the end stats there and have a little look. So, very well played to Noob for Life there. Snatching victory at the very end there with a Pyrrhic victory. Well played to all the other players as well. Park Map, Cavendish, Omega Drive. I absolutely love this Skaven build. Very well themed. And you can see it did a ton of damage. They killed all of the skinks pretty much of this Lizardman army. They just didn't have enough to deal with these big dinosaurs, unfortunately. But as you see, 98 kills on the Deathmaster himself, 240 on Viskrin's Death Squad, the Death Runner Regiment Renowned. In fact, all the Death Runners, 146, 88 kills, did very well. They just didn't have enough armor piercing, unfortunately, to beat these Basidons and big nasty dinosaurs. Krotgar, with who I love his new picture up here. The new pictures all look very good. The portraits did a good job of just running around, causing terror and beating the crap out of characters when he needed to. And the Basidons, 157 and 182 kills, really carried Noob for Life to victory there. As we look at Park Map quickly and a Mega Drive, it changes one each. So Park Map and Cavendish. For Park Map, very kind of more standard build, which I really liked, really solid build. It did very good. As you can see, not many kills across the board, but that's because he was taking down those platoons, did very good, lured them in, pinned them in place, and managed to finish them off. So very good play overall there. Only 78 kills, the lowest by quite a considerable amount, but second highest score. Really not that far behind first place, so very well played to him. We have a quick look at Cavendish as well. Very cool themed build with a flying Death Squad. Getting the damsel in there I think was a little bit risky, but again she needs to be closer to her healing and whatnot. And overall, just a super fun build, straight balls to the wall. Fuck tactics, charge in there, and fuck shit up. That's what we love to see. Very, very cool build overall. So, if you guys enjoy this, it was incredibly fun to cast. Please do leave a like and subscribe and all that good fun stuff. Comment down below what you thought about the battle, who you thought played best, which was your favourite army, all that good stuff. I'd love to hear back from you. And if you do want to support the channel in any other way, I also have a Patreon just down in the description below. Until next time, guys, peace, and stay awesome.